We are back for Real Housewives. Real Housewives of Atlanta, guys. Real Housewives of Atlanta. This is season 15, episode 3. Now, when they do start off, it is at Sheree's house. The first scene, they have it at Sheree's house. Now, Sheree has a chef there cooking, and Sonya and Marlo comes over. Now, with them coming over, Sheree decided to do a brunch for them. So that is going on. They ended up speaking about BravoCon, what was happening at BravoCon, and for Drew and Sonya were speaking of the drama that they had. Drew wasn't over it, I guess, from what Sonya's seen. So Sonya thought everything was done with, over with. It was last season, and Drew brought it to BravoCon. So she still feels some type of way about that. Now, last episode, Kenya came to Sheree's warehouse. I forgot to mention that last episode. So last episode, Kenya came to Sheree's warehouse area where she has all her She by Sheree products in the clothing, and they were speaking of what happened at the Renaissance party that Sonya had for her husband. Now that was happening. That also gets brought up. They were speaking about at Sheree's house herself with Sonya and Marlo. Now Drew and Ralph, they do skip to the scene where Drew and Ralph now. One thing I do know is the things that were happening before Real Housewives of Atlanta came back. I think it was maybe 2 weeks before Real Housewives of Atlanta came back. Drew and Ralph was in the midst of getting a divorce. So now seeing them all kiki and lovey-dovey is kind of weird, because it's like we already know what's going to happen later on, because they did show a clip before the season started showing okay, this is what's going to be happening later on. And I'm here I can't really get into it. Only thing is, with them two, you just never know, because last season Drew was making it seem like they were lovey-dovey, and then when we would see other scenes with just them, Ralph was seen as a narcissist. He was doing certain things that Drew didn't like, and then also I guess Drew was doing certain things that Ralph didn't like. So when they were in an environment with other couples, it seemed like everything was fine. And that's the same way it kind of is with this season, where it seems like everything is fine, but we already know out of this season itself, there's problems happening in their household. So I do pray for them. I'll pray for both their sides of the family as well. Hope everything is solved and resolved, but they put it in our face, so we watching it. Now, they both go rock climbing. They went on a little date together. It's an indoors rock climbing that they're doing. And Drew continues to speak to Ralph about the music that she's doing and the sales that she had. I think she said 13 sales that she had. Ralph basically was like, that's not really good, kind of bringing her down about that. And he calls their relationship Ike and Tina, and that ain't no good thing. Ike and Tina. And now from all of that, I would say maybe Jay-Z and Beyonce. You never know what's happening behind closed doors with any relationship. But don't ever compare your relationship in general. Don't ever compare your relationship, because you manifesting that in your relationship and you don't know what's happening behind closed doors. So don't do it, guys. Do not do it. Past that, we get to Kenya. Now, Kenya is speaking on the phone with one of her workers, and there was something misplaced with the sizing that she was supposed to have for a certain product, and she's feeling like she's a mentor for her workers. She knows she's a boss, but she feels like in this moment right now, she's mentoring the people that she has working for her. And then also she gets on the phone with Monyetta. Now Monyetta is on her way to go to LaToya's wedding, and if I'm not sure if y'all seen it, but LaToya's wedding was nice. Portia was there, Shamia was there from the old Housewives. Shamia never had a peach, but she was a friend of a friend on the Real Housewives of Atlanta. And a lot of people from the Real Housewives were at the party itself, so it was nice to see. And Monyetta, she also did choreography. Now Kenya has something coming up where she I think it's for her Kenya Moore hair care products. Now, I guess she has like a promotion that she wants to do, so she's deciding to get Monyetta to create a choreography so she can come out with that promotion itself for her product. I think it's a good idea. You know, sometimes you have to use your friend as resources as well, which is always good because it's better to put money in their pockets instead of sometimes going out to someone that you don't know. You don't know what product, what finished product they're going to come out with. So I think it's a good thing, and I like that idea that she has for Monyetta to come out and, you know, give her the money instead of giving it to someone else, you know. Now, afterwards, we get to the scene with Candy. Now, she's sitting down with Don Juan and her best friend. Don't remember her name, but she sits down with her as well. And they're writing down like a must-do list. Now, most of the things on the must-do list, producers put that it's Todd's do list, basically the list that Todd has to do. Candy is getting to a point where she wants to be more behind the scenes when it comes to any production that's happening. And for her, she wants to be an executive producer when it comes to Todd's movie that he's coming out with. And she doesn't want to be like a main character having to do a lot of roles, because for her, of course, like since they're married, they would already expect for her to be out there when it comes to being the forefront. But I feel like it's better for her to just be behind the scenes because it is less stressful for her as well. So she wouldn't have to really worry about the stress with it, which is always a good thing for her because she has other projects of her for her own that's happening and he's helping out with as well. So I think it's a great idea. Now they also get into the conversation when Monyetta comes over and they're talking about BravoCon, what happened at BravoCon. Now this is what I was talking about last episode, guys. Now, at BravoCon, Andy asks Candy a question about who she trusts with her businesses. Do she trust Mama Joyce, or she would trust Don Juan more with her business? And Candy said Don Juan she trusts with her businesses because of, I guess, past things that happened with her mom. After that, Candy does speak about another panel that Mama Joyce was on, and it was Mama Joyce, and the two sisters of Mama Joyce. And she basically said in the panel, I'd probably pick a decent one that has a job. And Candy hasn't spoken to Mama Joyce since that came out because Todd received this video not from Mama Joyce, not from Candy, but from his own daughter. And for Candy, it's like later on when her kids grow up, and well, when their kids grow up, they're going to go back and see that, and it's going to be very misleading to how to react to Todd and how to react to Candy as well, from what they're going to see from just what's out there currently and from what Mama Joyce has been saying. But you know, we get past that though. But let's get to the next part. So Drew is home. While Drew is home, Candace, she gets a call from Candace from Real Housewives of Potomac. Now, we all know Candace has been doing the music scene lately, and she has really good music out. She has a beautiful voice as well. And she decided to ask Drew because Shamia from Real Housewives of Atlanta, she was on, I think, 2 seasons ago. She wasn't able to do the special guest for Candace to be the singer coming out, you know, doing her own thing. So she decided to call Drew as a second line, basically. Now, we get to the part where after she's done speaking with Candace, Courtney comes over and her husband as well. Her husband, I guess he was part of a big boy group, and they come over. Now, Drew is familiar with Courtney's husband because they also worked together before. So she's very familiar with him. You know, they get there, they're mingling and everything, and she FaceTimes Candy. Now, Drew, she wasn't at the Renaissance party, so she doesn't really know what happened at the Renaissance party. Drew calls Candy, and she's like, hey, okay, Courtney's here, da-da-da-da. And Courtney switches up completely, like there was nothing that happened before then. And Courtney's like, hey, and Candy is just on the phone. Candy's keeping it real in my eyes. Candy's keeping it real, and she's like, Hey, all right. Like, and she told Drew, she's like, girl, you know, what would you even show me her knowing that we had our own issues going on? You know, Drew explains like she doesn't fully know what happened, so because she wasn't there. Drew asks Courtney what happened. They speak about it a little bit, and they get to the table where they're eating dinner. After that scene, we get Marlo driving her nephews, and she's talking to the nephews about the life coach, and she's asking like, has the nephew seen the life coach really helping her out from how she was before and how she is right now? And one of the nephews was like, yeah, you're trying. Now, Marlo does get into a story about was her nephew. So she has a nephew, another nephew, and that's on her brother's side, her brother's son. And with that nephew, I guess he was working one day as well, and he got boo boo poo. He got popped. Let me just say popped instead. And he's no longer here with us. So it's very touching for her. She's currently still in the moments of that happening and hearing the news about that. So it's still touching for her. After that scene, we do get to the scene where Courtney and Drew, now Drew had to go to rehearsals with Candace because the show was happening. I don't know if it was that day specifically, but with the edit, it showed that it was that day or the next day after that they had the big performance happening. Now, you know, Drew, they didn't really show Drew rehearsing or anything, but they showed Drew getting there, you know, speaking to Courtney and everything, you know, and getting the tease of everything. And we get to the scene later on that day itself from what we see. Candy, Sonia, Kenya was there, Manietta was there as well, and Marlo also comes. Now they're sitting down, you know, Candy, Kenya, Manietta comes first, Sonia comes after, and then we get Marlo that shows up too to support Drew. Now Marlo, when she gets there, she's like, hello ladies, hi ladies, and Candy was like, hi. And for Marlo, when she got that response, she still feels like Candy hasn't forgotten what happened last season. Marlo was like, if I was a man, it probably would take time as well for Candy to forgive her as much as it would have like if it was a chicken bone for her, not chicken bone, she said chicken wing, for her to forgive her. Because last season, Candy ended up not really forgiving her, but she wanted some chicken because I heard this too. Now they usually say the KFC in Jamaica is bomb. Now Candy heard this, but last season Candy didn't get the chance to get the KFC that was there. Marlo had a bucket of chicken from the KFC in Jamaica. So, you know, Candy and Marlo was going through it last season. Now, when it got to the plane scene, she got her Marlo got her bucket of chicken, and Candy was like, hey, can I get a piece? And then from there, they're kikiing. That's the reason why Marlo was throwing shade this season, where she's like, it probably will take some time, but if I was a man, it would probably take less time, or if I was a chicken wing, it would take less time. That was some good shade. I'm not gonna lie, that was some cute shade. Sheree, I think it was Sonia that asked like, where's Sheree or something like that, and Kenya or one of the girls was like, Sheree's not feeling good. Producers, y'all clutch for this. They get to a scene, like a short clip going over just to see like what Sheree is actually doing. Sheree was like, she's sorry that she's missing the opportunity to see flop like Drew. Now I think it was Drop by Drew, the name of Drew's like workout brand that she had, the workout app that she had. That was some good shade because that wasn't really an app from what they were showing, because the girls last season, they showed like they were trying to like go on the app that Drew had. She said she had an app, you know, it wasn't really working. From there, you know, Sheree and Drew, they still wasn't getting along, you know, throwing shade at each other. And when they were going on the app, it wasn't working. Now, I never tried the app, but yeah, it was a flop from what everybody said last season. Now, Sheree, she threw that good little shade with that one. I'm not gonna lie, that was some good shade. The performance with Candace going on, you know, they hearing everything. The voice, the performance was good. And, you know, Candace is like, okay, I have a special guest by the name of Drew Sidora. Drew comes out. And she's, you know, she's doing her la-di-da, la-di-da. And it was very short. Like, it wasn't a lot. Drew didn't give a lot. And Candace was singing the song with her. I never seen a show like that. I've seen a show where I've seen celebrities, you know, they would sing along in some parts, like some punchlines they would throw in with the song that that special guest is singing. But it was like they were just doing a duo together. And I'm just here like, okay. Now, the girls, Candy first. Candy was like, oh, that was it? Now, before Candy said that, Kenya, she was like, she wanted to see more of Drew's performance because it was very short. From what we see, it was very short. And Candy afterwards, she was like, that was it? Now, Candy threw some shade. Candy was like, if I invited all these people to come and see me and that be the only thing I'm doing, like, that would be embarrassing, basically. And Kenya, she was like, this is not a performance, basically. Kenya was like, this is not a performance. She was like, she basically wanted more than a woo 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 woo. Like, when she said woo woo woo, it literally reminded me of the Martin episode. And I think Martin used to say that a lot. He would be like, woo woo woo, woo woo woo. And that just reminded me of that. Like, she kind of did sound like Martin a little bit. But, you know, no shade, no tea. But Marlo, she was also like, you know, doing her little thing. She was like, ooh, just doing like a little clip of what Drew was doing. And Sonya threw that shade for real. Sonya was like, she ran longer for her medal than Drew was just on stage. And I was like, ooh. She did though. It was a couple of seconds, was it? Yeah, a couple seconds because it goes by seconds. Yeah, it goes by seconds. So I was just there like, ooh, that was some fun shade though. And afterwards, you know, Ralph, he comes with the flowers, you know, it was some cute flowers. Comes with the flowers backstage, and he's like, oh, how do you feel after the show? And Drew's like, I feel like she's ready for a tour. She said, sign her up. She's ready for a tour. Now, Drew, the part that got me is when Drew was like, Candy's not gonna be the only one with the Grammy. And I'm just here like, I think for right now, she will be the only one on this show with the Grammy. Maybe later on, if you get better, you'll be able to get a Grammy too. Maybe not Grammy, maybe a spelling bee. But yeah, no, I don't think we're there yet, Drew. We're not there yet. So afterwards, you know, the girls all went backstage, not backstage, but another area. And it's Kenya, Candy's there, Manyetta's there, Marlo, of course, is there. Courtney's back there now too, and Drew's there too. So all the girls got together afterwards and they just sat down, just catching up with everything that has been happening. And Kenya just spoke with Drew at that moment. She was just like, hey, like, I wish the show was longer for you. Like, your section of the show was longer because we wanted to see more. And Sonya was also like, oh, it was an incredible show. She also wished it was longer. And Candy had a face where, like, I ain't gonna lie, I kind of had the same face because I was like, that doesn't really seem authentic. Like, it was incredible. Talking about what happened at BravoCon, Sonya feels like it was basically like just going a step back from how they thought things were going, like everything was being cordial now. And Drew was like basically saying, like, she unfollowed her. after she dropped her clothing brand with her husband. And Sonya was just like, at that moment at the reunion, when she was flipping her hair, she just feels like at that moment, like, you were being disrespectful. So from there, she unfollowed Drew, but she didn't see the merch line. I don't know how much of that is true, but let's go ahead and move on. So Sonya, I don't know who made Sonya the bone carrier now, but she's taking Sheree's spot, because Sheree is known for carrying all the bones, and now Sonya got them all piled up, and Sonya is giving the bones out one by one to the person that they're speaking of, one by one. Whoever licked the bone, they're gonna give it to the one that they were licking the bone for, one by one. And I'm just here like, okay, Sonya's the director now. Sonya got Sheree's spot right now. And Sonya brings up the information about Courtney saying the people that Kandi had at her party or whatever get together it was were ghetto. And Courtney and Kandi, they go at it, and Candy's basically like, the people I might have there was ghetto, but I bring the people out. Now what she said? She said, you're just hood. Now you're the hood, basically. And they're getting into it. I feel like Courtney was gaslighting her, because why would you ask her like, oh, you're triggered. You're triggered. Like, you're gaslighting her at that moment because you want her to feel triggered at that moment. But afterwards, Sonya brings up also Monyetta feeling some type of way about Marlo. They both had their issues in Jamaica, so they bring that up. Drew, she brings up Candy's restaurant, just being concerned, and she asks Kandi like, how's everything happening, like with the incident that went on. Can't fully talk about it because it is a court situation that's still currently happening, and she can't really talk about it too much. She could give like a short summary, which she did last episode. Just right now, she can't really speak more about it. So Marlo, she just feels like at that moment, not just that moment, but Marlo does feel like Kandi gets like the say-so of what she can speak about and what she can't speak about, but everyone else, they have to speak about issues, their own issues, and she feels like Kandi, she doesn't really speak about everything that she's going through. At that moment, Kandi just can't speak about it because of it's still currently happening. It's not a situation that happened years ago. It's still court issues that's still happening with that. So she can't speak about it really. That's just what it is. It is what it is. So, afterwards, Marlo, she speaks about her and Drew. They get into it off camera. But after that whole situation, Marlo just feels like Drew couldn't really just say, that's how Marlo felt. You couldn't really just say, oh, like the I'm sorry, I'm spelling it so wrong. Oh my gosh. SHOOTING that happened. And for Drew, I feel like Drew is something that she really cares about. So she can't just mention like, oh my gosh, what happened with the S, Like, she has to be very careful with her words because it's very touching for Kandi in the moment. But for Marlo, she has a similar situation where her nephew just is not here anymore on Earth, and she feels like she's able to open up about that situation. So why is Kandi not able to be able to open up about that situation? I get it. Marlo gets angry and she storms off because she's still dealing with that hurt and that pain that she has with her nephew not being on Earth anymore. And I just feel like that's what it just was. They're both dealing with their own things. Drew not really showing what she's dealing with, and Marlo, she's being very open with what she's dealing with. So, all the girls, they're open with what they want to be open with, and they're closed off with what things they don't want to really talk about. It just depends. But, that was the episode. So guys, I'm going to see you guys for the next video I'm going to do, which is the taglines that the girls had for this season. So let's get into it. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Don't forget to comment for sure, for real. Let's get into conversation. Like, let's get into a conversation. Well, I'll speak to you guys soon, and I can't wait to hear from you guys as well. I want to hear your ideas. I want to hear your thoughts on everything, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.